Well, welcome everybody. This is Kim Evans and welcome to Inspire Conversations podcast show. And you all, I am so excited to have this lovely guest on my show. So I want you all to get your pencils out, your pens out, your papers out, take some great notes, because this is going to be lovely, beautiful, and healing. So I am Kim Evans. I am the host of the podcast show. I am a licensed esthetician and massage therapist. My business is actually located in Lafayette, California, and I'm also a health and wellness coach and a virtual online coach. My podcast show now, we started it in February. I'm so excited to have such an amazing guest in our lineup. Please follow us on YouTube. So today we have no other than the beautiful Carine Camara. Carine, welcome to our show.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so honored and blessed for you to be here and also to serve. Before I start my show, Carine, I always love to start the show with just a simple blessing. And I'm hoping that that is okay with you.
Yes.
All right. All right, everybody, I'm just going to just open it up. Lord, I would just hope that you minimize me to 0, maximize you to 100. I just want to send a blessing out to our podcast viewers. We're calling in from the West, from the North, from the East, from the South. May this information land globally, God, to wherever you need it to go. And everyone who's listening to the words of my voice, the sounds of this podcast, be healed, be whole, be transformed, be moved, and excited. God, we just want to thank you. Thank you for Carine for serving. Thank you for utilizing her voice. And God, thank you for utilizing my voice, because without you, I am nothing. And thank you, God, so much for giving me the opportunity to share this podcast show. Carine, welcome. Welcome. I get so excited because I'm blessed to have people of beautiful expertise and genres, and I honor you and thank you so much for giving us your time today. So Carine, take it away, and let's start with, actually, let me read your bio. Let me go back here, and I'm going to read Carine's bio before we get started, because she has an amazing breadth, depth of work. So let me read her bio real quick. Carine Camara is an intuitive love coach. She's an acupuncturist. I've also have had services, had the honor to have services from her. And she's a host of, actually, she is the host of her own podcast show. And it's called the Infinitive Love Podcast. And Carine, I want you to share a little bit about your podcast show when we get to that point. She is a firm believer that love heals. We're going to be talking about that today. And her podcast illustrates how people can overcome life's challenges with love. As a holistic practitioner, she looks at all angles of your health, life, mindset, movement, style, nutrition to find your path of deep healing and transformation. The second thing we're going to talk about today. As a result of working with Carine, her clients experience more love, confidence, wellness, and radiant, unapologetic joy. For those who are looking for health, spiritual, and life makeover in their lives, Carine has a wealth of knowledge to guide you back to wellness and back to your heart, which is going to be the number one thing we're going to talk about today. She has an online practice and a holistic clinic located in Lafayette, California, where she serves the San Francisco Bay Area community. I'm so honored to have her today. Miss Carine, take it away. Share, how do you help people find their heart and shine brightly?
Oh, thank you so much. I love the question and I love having this conversation with you. And for me, the biggest key to helping people find their heart is to help people realize how amazing they are. Most of us grow up feeling that we're not worthy, that we're not amazing. We have so many emotional experiences that tear us down. Mm-hmm. And since I'm in the health field, of course, I have a lot of people that have chronic illness or health challenges. And all of these kind of weigh down on your sense of self.
Mhm.
So ultimately, one of the biggest things I do with people is to help them fall in love with themselves, help them accept themselves, help them realize that they are amazing beings, divine beings, and have them start to fall in love with themselves in such a way that they start to move past their emotional blockages, health blockages, lifestyle blockages, and transform into the person that they want to be in the world.
Wow, that is so amazing. How long have you been working with people in this area?
10 years.
10
I
years.
know, it's crazy.
Just wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm going to be a love healer and an acupuncturist.
Well, when I was little, I wanted to be a healer. I always wanted to be of service to people. That was something that was important to me when I was a little girl. But as I grew up, I didn't really know where that would lead. You know, I thought about being a lawyer. I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. Like I had all these ideas of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a doctor at some point. And it's really after college that I was working as trying to have like side jobs, and I eventually landed in an acupuncture office working as an office manager.
I
And
love it. I love it. I
that
love it.
kind
I
of
love
led
it.
me towards
So you started
acupuncture.
as an acupuncturist manager. When did you go solo into your own solo entrepreneur practice?
Well, after I got introduced to acupuncture and I became an acupuncturist, I worked for a few people doing community acupuncture and all of that, but I've always wanted to have my own business. So once I got enough experience, I started seeing clients, started marketing and getting clients. I mean, you kind of know how it is when you're starting a business, you kind of have to do all things, network, meet people, pass out your cards everywhere, put flyers everywhere, just kind of blast it
Telephone
online.
poles, telephone poles and buses back in the day.
Oh my God.
Yellow pages. I
Yeah.
got it. I got it.
Yeah.
What was the turning point? There was a tipping point though, where you just said, hey, you know what? I really have found my love and healing and
Mhm.
transformation, and what I have, I could give to the world to serve others. What was that turning point in your life when you just really knew that you have found your calling?
Well, I think it's me going through my own healing journey and the miracles that happened in my life.
Mhm.
And I started to see the value of working on my emotional wellness, working on focusing on love and focusing on healing, that I knew that I wanted to bring that to my clients and to people. And so it became something that became so life changing for me that I wanted to help my clients transform as well.
And do you find that you're still a work in progress, or do you find
Oh,
that?
forever.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think it ever ends. Even if you hit this level of enlightenment, it's infinite. That our amount of growing, loving, being better. I don't think there's ever a moment that you stop. I think I will always, and I know I will always be a teacher for life. Like I mean, a student for life.
I feel the same way
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about the emotion healing. Let's talk a little bit more about that, because we know that that can be a sabotage to a lot of our lives. And we hit walls and we don't know why we keep hitting them, or we don't know why we're not receiving or achieving the goals that we want in life, or maybe some of the relationships that we want, or maybe our careers, or maybe our health that will lead into the segue. So I think that's something that we forget to really master or uncover or unlock is our emotional healing and well-being. So talk about that, how that is really very important.
Well, it's all about energy, and emotions are energy, and energy forms into matter. So if you're not managing your emotional health, it definitely has 100% an adverse effect on your health. So
Mm.
holding on to resentment, judgment, pain, fear, anger, any of the negative emotions all have a constrictive energy. They all contract.
Right.
And when things contract in the body, then there's less flow. There's less airflow, there's less energy flow, there's less oxygen flow, there's less flow. So we all know what it looks like when our pipes are clogged. We've all had plumbing problems, right? At some point in our lives, when things get stuck in the pipes, we have to call a plumber, it becomes a mess.
Right.
And that's what happens in our body. Like things build up and build up and build up, and then they become blocked, clogged, issues, pain, stagnation, all of these things. So oftentimes people do the normal thing, like they have neck and shoulder pain. Okay, I'm gonna go get a massage. I'm gonna go get therapy. I'm gonna go to a massage therapist. I'm gonna try acupuncture. I'm gonna you know, work on my stress, whatever, whatever. But if they're not really dealing with the emotional reason why they have neck or back pain or whatever pain, it's not going to truly heal because it's going to come back. So you can take all the supplements, you can eat well, you can exercise, but if you're not getting to the core of why you have shoulder, neck, or whatever pain, if it
Exactly.
could be fear, it could be you're angry at your partner or your family members. There's something underlying something, and and oftentimes it's this stress is just this overlying word that people are like, oh, I'm stressed. But stress is just, what does that mean? It's like something is usually underlying the stress that is causing you to have whatever you're experiencing in your life. So a lot of the times I work with people to help them uncover what that emotionality is. Some people are not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
They rather deal with the physical pain because that's easier to deal with than whatever the emotions behind it. Sometimes the emotion is actually more painful than the physical stuff. So I think it's about meeting people that are ready to like let go and move forward in a different way.
As a massage therapist myself for 25 years, and people come in with physical pain, oftentimes I can kind of trace that back to emotional pain and how to do some emotional release. And sometimes I'll just say, I got to refer you out to an acupuncturist. So my question would be to you is emotional pain, how does that show up in physical pain? Because the two go together. And this is your expertise as an acupuncturist. When people come in, you're helping to unblock that energy that's causing stagnation that can be causing that pain. So if they are experiencing emotional pain, just for the viewers who are not maybe privy to what acupuncture is, how then can that show up in physical pain?
It can show up in so many ways. There's 14 meridians that each go from different parts of the body. And so oftentimes different meridians will show up in different ways, and each meridian is attached to a particular organ, particular emotion and organ. So for instance, one of the most popular ones, not popular, but because of our modern day stress, is like the liver meridian or the gallbladder. These are two meridians that have to do with anger, frustration, resentment, lack of forgiveness, these kinds of just that utter like annoyed, irritated feeling, which is something that most people experience at some point in their lives.
Yeah.
This can manifest as migraines. It can manifest as shoulder, neck pain, anywhere along the meridian. The eye twitching,
Mm-hmm.
that's one that often people get when they're stressed. Any kind of shaking. I mean, there's so many different things, but
Right.
ultimately, with the framework of acupuncture, understanding how energy flows in that system, you can start to trace, oh, this is happening here. This could be related to this organ and such and such and such. It's mostly accurate. Everybody's different. So everyone has a different thing. It's not 100% accurate, but oftentimes it becomes a gateway for
Mm-hmm.
most people to start to see their body in a different way, which then can lead them to getting awareness of themselves. And ultimately, the intention is for people to become aware of their emotions and their energy and how it flows in their body. So acupuncture gives one pathway of being like, hey, look at this, look how it's affecting you here. And then people could start to be like, oh, okay. It's great when I have clients being like, yeah, I had this thing happen and my whole liver meridian got agitated and I could tell that this person they can start to see.
Yeah.
And then they can self-correct, because ultimately I want people to self-correct. I want people to be like, oh, this isn't good for me. Let me do this over here. This is something I know that's going to make me feel better. This is going to help me release my energy, working out, whatever, because ultimately I want people to thrive and not need me.
Yeah.
Right. The goal is for them to like be able to
So,
come to me in a different way, more like tune-ups.
yes, yes. I think that is so indeed so well said. So, kind of walk us through acupuncture. Number one, if you could define what that is, again, for viewers who haven't tried it, maybe they've been wanting to. And what does that look like when someone comes to see you? We think about the needles and we know moxibustion and, maybe some of the other herbs and things that people might be reading on YouTube or whatnot or hear about. But let's hear from you, the professional. Exactly. Define what that is and what does that look like when someone comes in for service to you?
Well, acupuncture is all about balancing the body's energy system. And like I said, there's different meridians, different organs. So it's one of the ways that our body is really, really intelligent, and our body naturally wants to heal. So acupuncture is a self-healing mechanism. So by putting certain points in certain parts of the body activates its immune system.
Yes.
Oxygen starts to go to those areas. Acupuncture points are along fascia planes, and each point has a little bit more electricity, which is why it's a specific point. And they actually have different studies where they've tested acupuncture points via unacupuncture points to see that there's more of an electrical charge where acupuncture points are located. And the needles are used because they're metal, and metals are conductor of energy, and it's a conductor of heat, and it's a good way to start moving energy, which is why our electronics are all metal, because metal conducts energy and transfers energy. So we put acupuncture needles essentially to help the body regulate. So I'm putting different parts in the body. So the body's like, oh, we need to open up this space by
Yeah.
bringing more blood flow to that area. So like I like to use the analogy of a river. If your pain or your health issues, like different rocks along the river, which is creating certain dams in the water, and the waterway is not flowing in the proper way, acupuncture helps to remove those rocks so that the water can go from point A to point B
Love it.
without any interference.
And
And
is
mhm,
receiving acupuncture needles, is it, as you're entering them, is it painful?
it can be, but mostly it's painless. I mean, the idea is to have it be the least pain. I mean, the kind of acupuncture I practice is it for it to be as painless as possible, because pain creates contraction, which then makes the muscles tighter, which then makes the flow of energy less productive. As if the body's more relaxed, the more energy flow happens. And so but it can be painful if your body's tense. I mean, it is resistance with the needle. The needles are super thin. About 20 needles goes into one syringe, meaning that like the needles that we get vaccinations and different shots in, you can put 20 acupuncture needles in that one needle. So
Wow.
they're very, very thin. So they're not meant to be painful. However, it is a foreign object going into your body. So, there is that level of like, for me, it's like a mosquito bite.
Mhm.
Sometimes some people feel mosquito bites, other people, they don't feel anything.
Some people have reaction to it, some people don't, but for the
Right.
most part, I've never
Yeah.
had reaction to acupuncture. So let's move forward to forgiveness and healing.
Mhm.
And that's one of your fortes, is really helping people to forgive. Why is that such an important element when we look at the importance of emotional well-being?
Well, like I was saying earlier, emotions are energy. And when we're holding on to energy or we're holding on to pain, that becomes a block. And that block is preventing healing energy to heal you. So
Mm.
essentially, not holding on to anger is pretty much like drinking poison, because it really messes up your individual healing mechanism. It affects your energy flow, it affects your health. So the reason why forgiveness is so important is really not for the other person, it's for you.
Right.
Because the energy that it takes to hold on to that pain is more energy than that you're expending outward to something that's not benefiting you.
Exactly.
Being able to release and let go of all the energy that it takes to hold on to something is energy that you can recoup for your own well-being, for your own wellness, for your own facial structure. I mean, holding on to stuff it ages you.
It
m-
does.
It makes you more susceptible to illness because your immune system's weaker. It just affects your whole system, your whole body. So whatever your Achilles heel is, like some people it's their lungs, some people it's digestion, some people it's their liver, some people it's their kidney. Everybody has an Achilles heel where one system is not as strong as the other. And wherever your issues are lying emotionally, it always goes towards your Achilles heel. So if you have digestive issues, that's just not, it's like your weakest of your organs, holding on to stuff, you're gonna have ulcers and heart, all sorts of like digestive issues that are not life threatening. You could live with ulcers and heartburn and stuff, but who wants to have heartburn,
Absolutely. Or
right?
weight gain. Like we even talk
Or
about
wake it.
weight gain, with women. I mean, that's so common to us. And then we kind of figure, we're in the gym and we're diet and we're doing all these things. And, why isn't that our weight is not shifted? Because, is that release and letting go. And so let's move forward and talk about a holistic approach to health, the mind, body, and the spirit. Um, so how do you use acupuncture in terms of a holistic approach to that? It's a continuum, that it does affect the health, it does affect the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Well, acupuncture inherently is a holistic system because it's one of 5. So when you learn Chinese medicine, to become an acupuncturist, you have to learn Chinese medicine. So
Okay.
Chinese medicine already is acupuncture is one part, but then there's nutrition, then there's qigong, which is breath work. There's tai chi, which is movement. It's a soft Asian kind of martial art that's more meditative. And then there's massage. So inherently, the medicine is a holistic viewpoint. But even when you learn about acupuncture, it's always about your spiritual growth. So it's about spiritual in terms of like where's your emotions at. It's based on Taoism, which is all about the moon and the moon and the sun, how that they harmonize. Everything's about harmony. It's about nature. It's about how one leads into the other, how feminine and masculinity
Oh,
bleed into each other. They're separate, but they're together. So there's always a sense of harmony with Chinese medicine. It flows with nature. So for me, it's about helping people realize that they're not just one thing. Like if you want to lose weight, because for that example, it's more than what you eat and how you exercise, but it's also your mindset. It's how you think about yourself. It's how whatever your connection is to a divine source, like how do you feel you are connecting to something outside of yourself? Like are you a person that's of service? Like do you have children? Like what are your relationships are? Like how are your relationships with your family, your friends, your partners, lovers, etc.? Like what's your relationship to yourself? So it's really about understanding how your life is flowing.
mhm.
Like how are you moving your body enough? Like what are thoughts are you having about yourself? Like so it's really just about helping people see their life in a holistic
That's right.
mindset, because how you do
Continuum.
one thing,
Yeah.
yeah, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like it's not like you can't separate how you treat someone else and how you treat yourself. Like how you treat others is essentially how you treat yourself.
Absolutely. What a joy to be able to have that gift to help people to see that and to bring them to their higher self. That's
Mhm.
power and very powerful. And this is a great lead into having an amazing connection to yourself. Let's talk about that. How do we get to a point to where we can have an amazing connection with ourselves and that we can be awoke and aware and stay there? How do we stay there when we find ourselves? If somebody can bottle that up, if you can bottle that up and sell it, man, you can retire tomorrow. It's, having an amazing connection with yourself. And sometimes it takes us to you're still young. And, I just turned into my beautiful 50s, which is the new 30s. But, sometimes it takes us a moment to get to that point
You're so
to connect with
funny.
ourselves.
I'm not that far behind you in terms of age.
You're right.
Um
We have to have that deep, we all go through that deep night of the soul, right? It's kind of sort of like a soul burning crossing. Once you cross that over, it's like, okay, I could be connected now. So talk about that, this
well,
whole connection of
I mean, for me, the biggest part of that is 100% acceptance.
yeah,
Because, like,
yes.
okay, I'm on the planet. God put me in this form. I'm here. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can't change my skin. I can't change my hair unless I get a weave or something. But naturally, I can't change my hair. I cannot change what I was given. I can adjust it, I can make it better, but I ultimately can't change it.
Okay.
So, am I going to spend the rest of my life hating my skin color, or am I just going to accept the fact that I'm a dark skinned Black woman? You know what I mean? Like I had to come to that place inside myself where I'm just am I going to continue to berate myself about something that I can't change? Or am I going to start to accept it and start to love it and start to appreciate what I was given? Right? So for me, it was acceptance and gratitude, because it's like, okay, I'm dark skinned and it has all those implications. However, I'm also healthy. My skin's beautiful. It protects me from the sun. Like there's all these things I had to start to say about my skin so I could be like, yes, I love my skin. I'm 40, but I look like I'm 30, because of the melanin, like things like that. I had to fall in love with who I am to be like, okay, this is great. And so I had to do that with every part of myself to really start to say, oh, like this is a gift from God. Like, how can I look at it in a positive way? And even like when I have health issues, okay, I'm like, okay, this is a situation, but how can I look at this in a positive light? So I think partly is being accepting of who you are,
Mhm.
fully accept it, and be like, okay, and even if you can't accept it, accept that you can't accept it, and start from there.
I love
just
it. And
just keep
I
just
can
keep
see you're
trying
an
to accept
awesome
it.
coach to kind of navigate people when they come in to see you.
Mhm.
And, you know, maybe tiptoe just lightly on a few of those dark components that people don't open up. You know, those doors you need to open up, those triggers, those schemas, those things, those shadows, because we keep them suppressed or we keep the doors closed there. But no, 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 no. When you come to a holistic healing practitioner such as yourself, massage therapist such as myself, no, we're going to lead you to that place so that you can uncover some of those layers so that you can get a healing. So would you like to just maybe touch on that a little bit? Maybe some release that you have in your room when a client comes in and it's a really an emotional breakthrough. So they have an emotional breakthrough. So now they've reconnected back to themselves.
Mhm. Well, I think it depends on the person and what they're ready to experience.
Okay, fair
And
enough.
you know, but ultimately, I create like a safe space so people can feel like they can say whatever they need to say. And a lot of times, people tell me things that they normally don't share, they don't think is relevant, right? Like I had a woman come in because she has issues with her eyes, and like something she doesn't want to deal with something in her life, so her life is creating this issue with her eyes that now they're
Mhm,
blurry to something that she doesn't want to
mhm.
see. She got molested when she was a baby, like 3. It's one of these things where you can't fully remember it because you're so young that your mind protects itself and creates this block
Okay.
of
Okay.
memory, but then it keeps coming up in flashbacks.
Mm.
So now you are in your 30s dealing with this flashback that you're having when you're 3,
Mhm,
and
mm.
you don't want to see things in your present.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Stuff like that,
Yeah.
where like it's really slowly helping people navigate that it's okay and finding acceptance in these moments, because you can hold on to this anger forever. Like that person that molested her is like, I mean, who, a 3-year-old? It's like unfathomable, but it happens to thousands, if not millions of women, if not billions of women around the world,
Yeah.
how have gotten sexually assaulted in some way or form. And how do you reclaim your power? How do you reclaim your worth? How do you reclaim your self-love? And how do you claim forgiveness for these people that violated you?
Exactly.
And the betrayal, not only to yourself, but to these people and for God. Like a lot of these women blame God. They're like, skip the man. They go straight to the man and be like, this is
Yes,
your fault.
exactly. Exactly.
Um, so that it's hard. It's not an easy conversation, but ultimately you want to reclaim your life.
Mhm.
You want to reclaim your life,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right? So all these things happen to you. Okay, they were terrible. But at some point you have to be like, well, I want a happy life. I want to feel joyful. I want to enjoy my sexuality. I don't want it
Yes.
tainted by this crap,
Yes.
these traumas. And it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of courage to go into these pain, feel the feels,
Those are the doors I'm talking about. Those are those hidden doors.
right? And like start to be like, okay, I'm ready to let this go. And what does that look like? And it looks different for everybody. Like some women can cry it out. Some women can write it out in a journal. Other women can start working out really hard, be creative. I mean, I think that's where working with someone is helpful, because they can start to give you ideas on how to, and when you're intuitive, you can also be like, I can see this is going to be good for you if you do this, if you do that. Um, but you just have to be courageous, like I have a
I love it.
client.
Be courageous. I think for me,
Yeah.
time's gonna show up when I have my perfect life partner. Yeah, I said it. You just gotta be ready. When you've done the work, It's like, okay, God, I'm ready to be in position. And it's just like when you really have that person that you're connected with your soul being, and you have your soul purpose, and you're woke and aware.
Yeah.
Bam, sky's the limit. You can really experience the fullness of love. And I think
Yeah.
that's the ultimate for a lot of us women, that we would love to do that. But, you have to go through clearing and the process of getting to that place where you can be so connected.
Yeah, to
Wow,
yourself. I
man,
mean, connected
yourself.
to
Yeah,
yourself.
totally.
Because I
Totally.
think, and a lot of times it's interesting because I have clients or friends that have partners. And so many times they don't know how to love themselves.
Yeah,
Then how are you expecting anyone else to love you?
exactly.
Right. And also, how can you teach somebody how to love you if you don't know how to love yourself?
We can say
Because
it one more time. Absolutely.
right, because
Absolutely.
ultimately when you're with, even with
Yes.
friends, right?
Yes.
You have to know how to talk to your friends, how to talk to somebody, to teach them how to love you. And it happens naturally. It's not like you're like having a conversation. Okay, Kim, this is how you're going to love me. No, you're not having these conversations. It just becomes natural, where you're starting to treat people a certain way and they start to see how you treat yourself. And then it slowly becomes obvious, like, oh, my friend really enjoys when I bring her little gifts once in a while, because I know that makes her smile. But you kind of have to know that because you're watching how your friend treats herself. Like if I buy flowers for myself, like I have tons of plants, right? All my friends know I love plants. Like
I
I buy
love
tons
plants
of
too.
plants for myself, right? So then if my friend buys me a plant, it's like, okay, because she can see how that's how I love myself, right? So,
Exactly. Ladies, go buy you some flowers and some plants.
right,
Buy
you
yourself
have
some
to
flowers every day.
right, you have to treat yourself the way you want to be treated. And so many clients I work with and they want to find their soulmate, right? They're like, I want to find my soulmate, I want to find my partner. I'm kind of like, well, are you ready to
Yeah.
love yourself the way you want this person to love you? Because if you're not ready to love this other person the way that you want to be loved, then you're not ready for a partner,
I love it. And to
right?
be able
So,
to define that and articulate that, that's very important.
right. Unless you're able to do that, right.
Articulate that.
Right. So it's more than just writing a list, like he has to be X, Y, X, all the lists, or she, whoever your love interest, in writing all the lists. I'm like, okay, but if you get this person and you're not even able to love them the way you want to be loved, then it's like, what are we doing here? You know?
Well, okay, well then, since you said it, we're gonna move over to the love chapter because
The romantic.
let's the romance. Let's talk about this podcast show that you have, and I love it. So share a little bit about your podcast show. This is wonderful.
Well, thank you. My podcast is called Infinite Love, and we talk about all aspects of love as a healing
Mm,
energy. So, a lot of a lot of the guests that have come on are coaches and authors and speakers, and all of those things. Many of them have had their own story of how they've been able to transform in their life and use love as their guiding light. And that was like a lot of that was in season one. Season two just started, and it's going to be launched in November. And season two is about self-love. It's like, how did you fall in love with yourself? Like, how did love transform you as a person? And now you're going of service. So a lot of the first season was talking about pain
mm,
points and how we had these pain points, and then we use love to shift and grow. Season two, I want to talk about more joyous aspects of love, how did you fall in love with yourself, and how does that manifest in the world? Because I ultimately feel like the people that are most radiant, that you find to be most magnetic, really love themselves. They're okay if they never find someone. They love themselves regardless.
oh no, we're gonna pause that for a second. So repeat what you just said because oftentimes I think people misconstrue your personality,
Mhm.
or if you're very vibrant, vivacious, very colorful, it's like you're too over the top or you're just too much. No, no,
Right.
no, no, no. You've fallen in love with yourself,
Right.
right?
Right.
You love
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's taken me a
yourself. You
while. It
exude
took me a while.
yourself, you know. And would you say that that would be the case with yourself? I mean, you have such a vibrant, magnetic personality, and I'm sure that you had to go through and to go through a lot of work to get to the place of where you are. You're such a beacon of healing light.
Oh, thank you.
You didn't just roll out the bed like that. I mean, look, you can
No.
celebrate just I mean, look.
I wish. And I wish. And I'm still,
This is this beam, this mediator, of sun on
yeah.
a dark, cloudy day. I mean, there's current, and
Mhm.
it takes a lot of woke, and it takes you to be awoke. It takes a lot of courage to be at the
Mhm.
place of where you are. And it's so nice when you love yourself. And I think really the other layer that I want to ask you is how to women, and I know this is probably a different show, but if you could just tiptoe, is just how can women begin to heal themselves of trauma, past trauma, as they are healing from romantic relationships?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that we can go back to acceptance. I think first of all, accepting that that relationship is over.
Mhm.
and accepting your part in that relationship and taking responsibility
Yeah.
for your actions and what happened in that relationship. And if you can go into non-victim mode and non-blaming mode, it becomes a lot easier,
Yes.
right? So then you can start to see, okay, I did this here, he did this here, okay, understanding, and also understanding who you are and your wounds. Like, for instance, with my ex, I started to see where my wounds attracted him to my life,
Ah.
right? My wounds of wanting to be chosen, wanting
Yeah.
to be in a certain type of partnership
Yeah.
attracted this relationship to me. And
Ah.
when I was in that relationship, I was like, and then a little bit into the relationship, I was like, oh no, this is a pain attraction. This is not a love attraction. Like,
Ah.
I didn't attract this man from the love I was carrying in my heart. I attracted this man because of the pain I was carrying in my heart.
Ah.
So that relationship was always going to be doomed because I wasn't attracting him from a love place. I was attracting him from a wounded, desperate place.
Mm.
And I think as a woman, to understand those past relationships, were they coming, did you attract that man from a pain point, or was it a love space? An example is, if you were abused and had all this trauma and you've never really worked through the trauma to find your self-worth, then
Mm.
you may not feel worthy of love, right? So then you would attract a man that would be narcissistic, and he would pretty much emotionally and physically abuse you, right?
Mm.
And then you would think that something was wrong with you because you kept attracting this man, right?
Mm.
But you're attracted to this man because it's coming from your wounded space. It's not coming from your love space, because love would never attract a man like that.
Mm.
Only pain would, right? So then once you start to see, oh, this is a pain attraction, you
Yeah.
start to say, okay, how can I heal this pain? How could I accept who I am and start to love this woman that I am, and slowly start to take this layers of this pain off of me,
Mm.
right? Forgiving the people that hurt you. They didn't know better. Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
Okay. But do I want to be a hurt person that hurts more people? Or do I want to be a healed person that attracts love into their life? So you kind of have to make a decision of what kind of person you want to be and what you want in your life. So now I've like, okay, I've attracted a wounded partner. That's done. Now I want to I want to start healing all that pain so I could attract a love connection,
Love connection. Y'all.
a love attraction. So I can attract a man that is coming from a love place. And love is always abundant. It's always full. It's not needy. It's like a deep breath of fresh air when you meet the right person. And it's always it's always gonna have its challenges, but you're meeting from a place of not a wounded space. You're meeting from a place of emotional awareness, maturity, love. And you
Okay.
can't get to that place until you figure it out for yourself.
I love it. So again, awoke, being courageous, being able to do the deep work and really understand where you are in that. But you hit a couple of things. Oh my God, this is so good. Carine, you're gonna have to do a podcast show on all this. This is one pain attraction versus love attraction. How can women quickly identify which space they're in? You got to be able to identify, am I
Mhm.
in a pain attraction relationship or am I in a love attraction relationship? You got to
That's a good
identify
question.
which one.
I think for me, I would say a way to identify, first of all, if you're in a situation where this relationship feels like it is a struggle, everything is just like difficult, painful. And mind you, this is also an opportunity to heal. So if you're in this relationship right now where everything's difficult, it's painful, this could be God helping you heal these wounds. This may not be the man for you, but this is an opportunity to heal. So let me say that, because when I was in that past relationship where everything felt like so painful, it was an opportunity for me to heal, right? So I would say, if you're always feeling anxious, tight, it always feels like you're going through mud, everything is just like, ugh, like just so heavy all the time. And of course, relationships have those moments, but if it feels like it's the overwhelming vibe, then this is probably more of a pain attraction,
Mhm.
especially if your triggers are being triggered over and over and over,
Correct.
right? Like, you're feeling unworthy, you're not feeling loved, you have this underlying pain, and this person keeps hitting it and hitting it, hitting it. And you're like, what is happening? Why is this painful? And then it makes it worse when you guys have a good sexual attraction, you know what I mean? So then you're kind of like in this like, oh, but
Confused. You're
you're
confused.
confused, right?
You're
Because you're like,
confused.
you're kind of like mesmerized by the sex, and you're like, it's so amazing. But it's like when you hear the but inside yourself, you know that this is not the one, or this is not the good relationship for you. Where if it's a heart connection, it should feel lighter. It should feel like, oh my God, yes. Like, of course, you're going to go through stuff because love always, you know, attraction always brings up that your fears and your insecurities and your pains and your jealousies and all of that. But ultimately, this person should feel like a warm hug, like, okay, like, yeah. And then when you're working on something, it feels like you're growing. Like you have an argument, you're growing in this conversation. It's not tearing, you're not tearing each other down. It doesn't feel like this person is berating you. You don't feel like you're berating them. It actually feels like you're having a conversation of growth as opposed to aggravation and just anger.
And then unfortunately, sometimes a lot of people don't know the differentiation of a love and a pain. They just can't see it because they don't know what it looks like. Maybe because they
Right.
were raised that way. A lot of
Right.
layers there, abandonment. I mean, a lot of different layers there.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask just very simply, what does a love attraction look like? Some people don't even know what that looks like.
I know.
It's-
Most people don't know what love looks like.
We know what it feels, but
Right.
what does that look like? What would you suggest?
What would
What does
that
that
look
look
like?
like?
I don't know, Denzel in the 80s. I'm just kidding.
Barack and Michelle Obama. That's what that
I'm
looks
kidding. I'm
like.
kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
have to go a little bit spiritual. I think my take would be just, what that love attraction look like is how a man should love a woman. It should look like how a man should love a woman, and it should look like how a woman should respect her man. Let's just we can just start right there and just break that down. But what does that look like? It's that beautiful dance that's going back and forth, but it takes courage and it takes work to get to that point, to sustain that point, and to continue furthering fostering that. But from afar, when you see that, it's
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I think for
yes.
me, what that love attraction, what that love connection feels like, it feels like an extension of you,
Hmm.
like being with someone,
Whole you, the extension of whole you.
the
Yeah,
whole you, the
whole you. Yeah.
divine you, where it's like you're both elevating each other.
Yes.
It feels like you're both supporting and loving. You're loving this person to bring them up to their highest self. So for me, the
There
love,
it is.
you
There
know,
it is right there. There it is. There it is. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you want to love someone so much that your love is buoying their life, you know, and vice versa.
Thank you. And how I can outlove you. I want to outlove you today. Wouldn't it be
Right,
awesome? I'm gonna outlove you today. Our goal is look, no, I'm gonna outlove you. No, I'm gonna outlove you.
right.
And you're going this beautiful dance to where you're outloving each other every
Yeah,
single day. Wouldn't
yeah,
that be awesome?
it would be great. I mean, it's a, it's unconditional, you know,
Yeah.
it's a love that's non-judgmental, that's supportive. Um,
So where can the viewers find you this awesome podcast show? Please give us your URL. Where can they find it and listen in? Because I know a lot of women want to listen to it right now when they get off this podcast.
well, the podcast is called the Infinite Love Podcast, and you can find it where you listen to podcasts. It's on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, all of the podcast venues.
Amen. And I'll definitely list the link to below in the show notes so people can get to it. So as we bring this to a close, Carine, let me ask you, what has been your most teachable moment in your business today up to this point?
Hmm. I would say my most teachable moment with my business as an entrepreneur is that to stay grounded to your heart, because I feel like with an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur, things just change.
Yeah.
COVID has been a really good
COVID did
example,
that.
right? You
Yeah.
have to pivot and change and flow and be creative and just
Okay.
never stop. And I feel like failure is a big part of that. Like things happen and they fail, and things happen and they fail, but then you just got to keep going. So I think for me, realizing that it's you just got to keep going
I
and just
love it. And don't stop.
not give up. Yeah, not
Yeah,
give up.
don't stop, don't cave in, don't quit. That's what my pastor used to always tell me. Awesome. And anyone who's trying to get into the business of becoming acupuncturist, I know schools are few and far in between. A lot of them have closed up. Three things maybe that you would suggest anyone who really would like to get into the field of acupuncture that you'd like to share. How would they do that?
Well, the number one thing someone told me when I was in acupuncture school was to make sure that you love it, because it is a very arduous program. It's like 4 years long, so it's not like for the weak of heart.
Yeah.
And I would also say that just be of service, like make sure that you want to help people, because it's not necessarily a field that's going to make you like tons of money. So if money is your objective, then this is probably not the best thing for you. um, it's really just about helping people, and it's really an amazing career path if you like helping people, if you like to be creative, and if you like things that are always going to be different. So my favorite part about acupuncture is like I just don't get bored, because there's so much to learn. There's always something new. I always feel like it's just never ending. I remember when I was in school, my teacher was like, he was teaching us the pulse diagnosis, and he said, after 10 years, you're proficient.
I love
In
it.
20 to 30 years, you can call yourself a master. And I was like,
Oh,
oh. But it's true.
20,
It's
30
true.
years. I guess I'm hitting on that.
Yeah, like he was interesting. He was like so acupuncture numbers go in order of who gets their license. Like mine is like 14,000 something.
Okay.
His was I think his was like 13 or something. So he was like one of the earliest people in California that got their license. It was like, under 20. You know what I mean? So he's old G. And this was like in 20, this was like 25, like 2005. So he was an acupuncturist for at least 30 years at that point. And he was still like, I'm a student. I was like, what are you talking about? Because I was studying with him. I was like, you're a master. We love you. And he's just like, no, no, no. So he was so humble. But that's the thing about acupuncture. It's never ending. Like, master acupuncturists are like in their 60s and 70s, and they still are, and they still have more to learn.
You can actually continue in this field until you 70.
Want to.
If you choose to do that, if you want
choose
to. So Carine, let me ask you, how do you wind down at the end of the day? I know you never get stressed, but
I wouldn't say that. I wind down probably by watching a little mindless TV, and drinking tea and going to bed, really. Like I don't really do much. Like I dance, I like dancing, I do Peloton, I love my Peloton. So that's like my big thing. It's like doing yoga, working out, breath work, meditating.
Love it.
All those
What's your
things.
favorite color?
Purple. Even though I'm wearing blue today, blue's like my second favorite.
Well, purple is royal. So why do you select purple? What does that mean to you? What does that do for you when you wear purple?
Well, I think it's more about how I feel like my energy comes out, because I have like undertone of purple in my skin. So when I wear purple, I just feel like my energy is just more radiant. Wow. So it was a color that I just started wearing like maybe like 5 years ago, because I never wore purple before. My favorite color is magenta, like you're the same color of your lips. I love magenta. And so purple and magenta, those are my colors. And then I just feel more radiant in those colors. I just feel more confident. And I love blue too, because blue is another strong color. Yeah, so blues and purples.
Love it. Well, you always wear vibrant colors when I see you. You wear your colors very well. And that would lead me to believe you should be an image consultant, or I think maybe that might be something you might be going into at some point in time. I mean, it'd be great as an image consultant. Any last things that you would like to share? Last points you would like to share?
Last points I would say is that you have the power to heal.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on in your life. You always have the power to change. You have the power to change your perspective, to find positive outlooks, to be grateful, to pray, to ask for forgiveness, to be forgiven. Like all of the things that can lead us to have a more peaceful life. We all have the power within us every single moment to make that shift.
That's worth the whole show, y'all. That's worth the whole show. Carine, you're going to be giving a free 30-minute virtual consultation. Tell us about that for the guests who are here on the podcast.
Yeah.
Their free gift. What is their free gift?
Yeah, if you want to sign up on my website, you get 30 minutes of a free healing consultation where we can talk about what's going on in your life and how I could help you. And if you're local to the Bay Area, you're always welcome to see if you want to come in and get an acupuncture session as well.
Yay! Carine, thank you so much. Carine Camara is an intuitive love coach, acupuncturist, and host of the Infinite Love podcast. Thank you so much for being on my guest today. It has been a pleasure to have you and to serve.
Thank you so much, Kim.
And I'm Kim Evans, the host of Inspired Conversations. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you, viewers, for your time. And Corinne, thank you very much again.
Thank you.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.